Hi there, this is Jonathan Ginsberg. I'm a Social Security disability attorney, and today I'd like to talk to you about functional capacity evaluation forms. And if you watch some of my videos, you know that I a lot of times speak of the need to get support from your doctor or treating doctor, whether it's for physical limitations or mental health limitations, and that really an effective way to do that is to have the doctor complete a functional capacity evaluation, because remember, the issue in a disability case is whether you have the capacity to perform the duties or the tasks of a simple entry-level job. And you need your doctor to translate your medical findings into very specific work limitations. So it's not enough to say that you have a herniated disc. That's not disabling on its face. If you cannot sit for more than 10 minutes at a time, you experience severe pain such that you cannot focus and concentrate, and you're off task for 20% of the day, you miss 3 or 4 days of work a month, those are specific limitations that would keep you from performing any kind of job, even a simple entry-level job. Therefore, that can be used to argue that in fact you are disabled for Social Security purposes. Again, Social Security defines disability as the inability to engage in substantial gainful activity because of a medically determinable condition or conditions that has lasted or is expected to last 12 consecutive months or result in death. So we need to show functionally what you cannot do that would be required at a simple job. So I talk a lot about having a functional capacity evaluation. Logically, that means many people are going to go to the internet and type in functional capacity evaluation. And what they're going to come up with is something like this. And this is a form that is actually the Social Security official form. This is what the state agency doctors, the consulting doctors that Social Security has look at your file, this is what they fill out. And the problem with this form is it doesn't really tell us quite enough to take to a judge to say, I am disabled. So let's just kind of go through it. You'll see it asks about exertional limitations, which would be lifting. So here, that's helpful. Less than 10 pounds, occasionally, frequently, stand and walk less than 2 hours in an 8-hour workday, and so forth. But for example, with lifting, it doesn't say 5 pounds, because less than 10 pounds could be 8 pounds. And if you can lift 8 pounds on a frequent basis, that there are jobs that you could probably do. Sitting for less than 6 hours, where again doesn't say you can't sit for more than 2 hours, because again, if you could sit for 6 hours and stand for 2 hours, that's 8 hours in a day. That's not disabling. So it just doesn't give us quite enough information. Here, climbing, balancing, stooping, and kneeling, we have frequently, occasionally, and never. And again, obviously, never is going to be helpful. Manipulative limitations, reaching and handling, limited or unlimited. Well, again, limited, what does that mean? Is limited, and it says down here, describe what limited means, but again, you're asking a doctor to start writing narrative statements, which they're not going to necessarily want to do. It's a lot easier if you had unable to perform at all, would be one of the categories here. Visual limitations, again, limited, unlimited, but what does limited mean? To ask the doctor to write that out, that's difficult. The purpose of these forms is to make life easier for the doctor. Then we have, going down here, really just a lot of room for extra comments. There's really not a whole lot of room for describing specific things. It asks nothing about how much time you would miss from work, would you miss excessive days, have to take unscheduled breaks, things like that. So this is really not a great form. It puts a lot of burden on the doctor to write out what the functional limitations would be, and that assumes that the doctor understands what Social Security is looking for, and that is to talk about your functional limitations. By contrast, here's a form that I found on the internet. This is actually a form for one of the books, the practice books that's out there that attorneys you can buy. What I do, by the way, is I take a form like this and I customize it, because I think that these forms, this talks about physical residual functional capacity. I might have one for back injury. I might have one for carpal tunnel. I have one for knee injury. So you can make it really, really specific, and you can take out questions that are not relevant, again, because that makes the doctor's life a little bit easier. But even this form is actually kind of helpful because it talks about things that are necessary for Social Security to make his decision. Like question 8 here is, has your patient's impairments lasted or expected to last 12 months? Well, that's one of the issues in the definition. Do you have a condition that has lasted or is expected to last 12 consecutive months or result in death? Is your patient a malingerer? Well, this is helpful because if you're malingering, that means you're faking it, and to take that out of the equation is useful. Here this talks about depression, psychological conditions. This might be a question I would take out. This may not apply at all to my client's situation. Here this talks about attention and concentration. That's more of a mental type of thing, although it can be with pain. But here you have never, rarely, occasionally, constantly, frequently. But never is really important, because if you have a never, that person cannot maintain attention and concentration, that is a disabling impairment. Work stress, and again, these are pulled from a mental form, but again, some jobs or certain physical limitations are going to make it impossible to withstand the stress of any kind of job. Then it asks for specifically, how many minutes can your patient sit or stand? Well, you have 0 and 5 and 10. The other one, remember, just had 10 and 20 and 30. It just wasn't restrictive enough. This gives us a much clearer picture of the person's limitation. Does the person need to take periods of walking around? Well, again, if you're asking a question of vocational witness, if you've got to take a 6-minute break every 15 minutes, that is a real problem in terms of competitive employment. That's a much more detailed response than do you have to take periods of time walking around. And to assume that the doctor is going to know to think about these things in his little narrative statement over here, where it says describe what that means, that's just not going to happen. So this form is a lot better. This has got things here, talks about how many days is your patient likely to be absent from work. Never. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4, more than 4 days. Well, again, if you're going to be out 4 days and the judge goes with it, you're going to win. So this form, even though it's imperfect, is actually a pretty good form that would really help you explain to the judge, or help the judge understand the specific work capacity limitations that you have, and that would again allow you to argue that you meet the definition of disability and you do not have the capacity for even a simple entry-level type of work. So again, from my practice, when I'm using functional capacity forms, and by the way, I call them just functional capacity forms. Residual basically means what's left over, and so that's more of a legal term. That I don't think that the doctor is going to be asked to complete a legal definition of residual functional capacity, but a doctor can certainly talk about your functional capacity. So a form like this is a lot better than a form like this, especially if it's customized. So when I talk about functional capacity forms, this is what I'm talking about, and this is what I think can be very helpful in winning your disability claim. Hope you found this helpful. Again, my name is Jonathan Ginsberg. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube, like it on Facebook, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like our Facebook page, a lot of good stuff coming out there. And if I can be of assistance to you, please reach out to me directly. Thanks a lot. Hi, this is Jonathan Ginsberg, and I hope you found this video helpful. If you'd like to know more about how to win your Social Security disability case, I'd like to invite you to download my Secrets to Getting Approved Early Survival Kit that I created just for people like you. Currently, I'm making the survival kit available at no cost, and I encourage you to grab your copy now. Some of the topics I cover include: how do I know if I have a case? Is it the right time for me to file my claim? 9 common mistakes that can doom your case. The 3 must-have arguments you use to win your case. And a topic that every disability claimant wants to know: how to avoid trick questions from the judge. If you or a loved one need to win Social Security disability benefits, you'll find the Survival Kit essential reading. Download your Survival Kit right now and at no cost. Just visit ssdanswers.com/survival and sign up. It's that easy. Please act now. And as always, I wish you the best.